Chapter 5, Fifth Generation Warfare. How important is it to be aware of the need to protect your mind and heart from external influences? I'm going to make a claim and back it up with evidence. Here's the claim. Today, an uncountable number of entities utilize psychological manipulation and mind control techniques to further their aims, both through the internet as well as through traditional forms of media. Propaganda, false narratives, and information chaos are deliberately engineered. That's not merely my opinion, it is a fact verified by the operating manuals and foundation documents of all kinds of power centers across this world, which you will discover if you investigate. Here is one example. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, is an intergovernmental military alliance of 32 member states. Recently, NATO had a document on its website called The Battle for the Brain. That document, get this, outlined a plan to influence and propagandize the minds of individual citizens in order to weaponize people and groups against one another. This strategy is sometimes called fifth generation warfare. A simple way to think about fifth generation warfare is that it refers to the battle of perceptions and information, battles fought not against standing armies or insurgents or even physically, but against the minds of citizens. Brief tangent. What about first through fourth generation warfare? Those categories describe the various iterations of physical combat capabilities used by armies throughout history, each stage or generation becoming more potent and damaging than the last as a result of new inventions or technological developments. At one time in history, arenas of battle might have consisted primarily of physical confrontations between rival armies, or they might have consisted of the economic warring of nations attempting to outflank each other in the area of resources or trade. But today, across the globe, the mind and heart of the citizen constitute the main battlefield, according to corporations and governments. Traditional media, social media, computing technology and applications, artificial intelligence, and the internet prey upon the attention of the individual and offer up the perceptions and attitudes of individuals on a silver platter to the wielders of propaganda. You might have heard the old adage that news is the first draft of history. If news is the first draft of history, then consider these related questions. Who edits or controls the news? Do the victors of geopolitics ultimately interpret history for the rest of us? Is the elite class overly influential in framing history? Who curates or influences any of the platforms we turn to for fact, for analysis, for opinion, for information, for entertainment? Edward Bernays, remember him from Chapter 3, wrote, quote, "We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind." Bernays in that quotation was not attempting to fabricate insights or exaggerate for effect. He had a great deal of experience across many decades helping government agencies and businesses to implement exactly the recipe that he illustrated in that last quotation. Bernays played a central role in advancing the practice of corporate and state propaganda early in the 20th century, helping to lay a sophisticated foundation for the mind control systems and techniques that are prevalent now. However, even with all that he accomplished, Bernays did not live long enough to take advantage of powers conferred by the Internet. With today's ubiquitous Internet surveillance and tracking capabilities, on top of the vast power of media and technology companies, added to the censorship efforts orchestrated by governmental and other entities, the subtle suggestions of nudge units, and so on, the level of information control that exists in our time has taken the complexity of traditional propaganda to a new level. Some people do not feel there is much they can do to disentangle themselves from it. Many others have little appreciation that it is even occurring. The renowned intellectual Noam Chomsky had many fabulous insights, including this one. Quote, "The general population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't even know that it doesn't know." Let's illustrate Chomsky's point in one specific way by looking in the next chapter at Google's parent company, Alphabet, which gets away with things that the public is quite unaware of, despite the direct daily involvement of most citizens with multiple Alphabet products.